You don't need anyone to be happy. Yet there's always this lingering feeling inside you, perhaps a sense of lack, as if the most important piece of your life is missing somewhere, and you'll never be complete without finding it. For years, we've been told a fairy tale. One day, the right person will come along and complete all the missing pieces of our lives. So you waited. You begged for love. You changed yourself to fit others' expectations. You gave up parts of yourself to appear whole in someone else's eyes. But every time, you hit the same wall. The happiness someone else gives you is taken back when they leave. Because you can't permanently unlock the door to your soul with a borrowed key. The problem isn't that you need love. The problem is believing you're dependent on a single drop of water from others when there's an ocean within you. That's why true wholeness isn't about losing yourself in someone else, but standing unshakably at your own center. This video is designed to help you break free from living for others' applause or love and transform into a self-sufficient fortress. Now, to plant the first seed of this new journey in your mind, write this resolute sentence in the comments. Today, I don't need anyone to be happy. As the Roman sage Publilius Cyrus whispered centuries ago, everything we obtain by begging from another belongs to someone else. In other words, nothing will ever truly be yours except what you build within yourself. To better understand this, let me tell you a true story. The story of a man who had everything, lost everything, and by losing everything, gained everything. Imagine a man, a member of one of Rome's noblest and most powerful families. His wealth was so vast he didn't even know the number of villas he owned. His intellect was so sharp that his words carried the weight of law in the empire. At the pinnacle, he stood at the heart of power as the mentor to the future Emperor Nero. From the outside, he was the embodiment of human perfection. But let's get to know this man a little closer. Beneath that magnificent toga was a fragile body wrestling with illnesses that had haunted him since childhood. Relentless coughing fits that cut off his breath brought him to the edge of fainting and confined him to bed for days after each crisis. A man who had everything yet lived, knowing he could die breathless at any moment. His wealth couldn't heal his ailing lungs. His power couldn't conquer the fear of death that kept him awake at night. This man's name was Lucius Annaeus Seneca. Even at his peak, Seneca was inwardly fragile. But his true test had not yet begun. He was surrounded by friends, but as his power grew, so did the whispers of envy. One day, a poisonous lie reached the emperor's ear. A powerful woman's slander turned Seneca's entire life upside down in an instant. He was accused of immorality. Without even a trial, a merciless verdict stripped him of everything. Overnight, his titles were taken, his countless villas confiscated, his so-called friends vanished, and worst of all, he was exiled from his beloved Rome. His destination was Corsica, a barren island in the middle of the Mediterranean, forgotten by civilization, filled only with rocks and harsh winds. Now imagine that man, accustomed to luxury and comfort, surrounded by servants in that desolate place. No more fine fabrics, no more attendants, no more applauding crowds. He wore the simple rags of an exile, his face lashed by salty winds, with only the sound of crashing waves in his ears, starved for human voices. Can you imagine what he felt in those moments? That emptiness, that helplessness. The ocean outside was as turbulent as the storm within him, 1,000 times fiercer. Who am I? He asked himself. Without my titles, my wealth, or the people who praised me, am I nothing? For most, this would be the beginning of the end. But for Seneca, hitting rock bottom was the moment he made his life's greatest discovery. Everything had been taken from him, almost everything. In that moment of despair, a fire of defiance sparked within him. They could imprison his body on an island, but no one could chain his mind. They could steal his wealth, but never his wisdom or thoughts. Fate had dealt him its harshest blow, but it was still up to him to decide what meaning to give that blow. Seneca chose to see his exile not as a punishment, but as a purification. Far from Rome's false clamor and the flattery of sycophants, he was, for the first time, truly alone with himself. He turned the rocks into a study, the sound of waves into music, and solitude into a teacher. He began building a fortress in his mind, one no one could destroy, no emperor could seize. This fortress wasn't made of marble or gold. It was built from reason, virtue, and the ability to maintain inner peace no matter the external conditions. In that fortress, he found a wealth he'd never had in Rome's palaces: self-sufficiency. He no longer needed applause to feel happy, titles to feel valuable, or luxury to feel at peace. Everything he needed was within his mind on that barren island. Seneca's story teaches us this. Sooner or later, life will tear down everyone's external fortresses. Your Corsica might be a job loss, a sudden end to a relationship, or a health crisis. The moment you face what remains when everything you thought defined you is taken away, that's the moment you either surrender like a victim, or like Seneca, begin building your inner fortress, the one true refuge no one can take from you. True wholeness doesn't come from someone else completing you, but from being enough for yourself, even when the whole world abandons you. This is exactly what Stoicism teaches us. When you become self-sufficient and stop relying on the external world for happiness, you attain true, unshakable power. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Look within. Within you is the fountain of good, always ready to bubble up if you keep digging." This philosophy holds that the secret to a good life lies not in external conditions like wealth, status, or fame, but in developing your own character, choices, and actions. It's both a challenging and profoundly compelling idea because it makes us fully responsible for our own happiness and strips away all excuses for not living a good life. If you feel a void in your life, know that the power to fill it doesn't lie in another person, an object, or a status. Anything you beg or receive from someone else ultimately belongs to them and is only lent to you. The only thing truly yours is the wealth within you, your mind, your virtues, and your freedom to choose how you respond to events. As Seneca said, it's the mind that makes us rich. It goes with us into exile. This video is about breaking free from the illusion of, I was incomplete and you completed me, and arriving at the wisdom of, I was already whole and I share this wholeness with you. It's about becoming a tower of strength, calm even in the midst of a storm, unshaken by external events. Instead of waiting for someone else to complete you, are you ready to discover the strength, love, and wholeness already within you? Because that's the promise of Stoicism. It doesn't just show you the path, it hands you the key to a good life. All you need to do is walk that path, turn the key, and step inside. So, as the Stoic teacher Epictetus asked, how much longer will you wait before demanding the best for yourself? The psychological roots of lack and the paradox of control. What if that feeling of lack, that longing to be completed by someone else, isn't a poetic heartache or a philosophical quest, but something rooted in the earliest years of your life? What if it's a neurological pathway, a subtle habit repeating itself? Modern psychology suggests this sense of void doesn't stem from romantic tales, but from the basic programming of the human brain. This feeling isn't a character flaw, but the result of a learned mental map. The first place this map is drawn is in what psychology calls attachment theory. According to this theory, the relationship a baby or young child forms with their primary caregiver creates a foundational template for all future relationships. If the caregiver is consistent, reliable, and loving, the child develops secure attachment. A message is encoded deep in their mind. I am valuable, worthy of love, and the world is a safe place to explore. I can be close to others, but I'm whole without their approval. This is the psychological capital that lays the foundation for feeling complete within oneself. But if the caregiver is inconsistent, sometimes loving, sometimes distant, offering love conditionally, the child develops anxious attachment. The encoded message is different. Love and attention are conditional. I must constantly strive, behave correctly, and meet expectations to earn it. I'm not safe on my own. My worth depends on others' attention and approval. As this child grows into adulthood, they seek the consistent approval and security they lacked in childhood from romantic partners, friends, or bosses. The void within, is an echo of that early search for safety. This early programming directly influences another psychological principle called the locus of control. The locus of control is about where you attribute the causes of events in your life. Someone with an external locus of control believes their happiness, success, or failure depends on factors outside themselves. They don't get promoted because their boss doesn't like them. Their relationship ends because it's fate. They're unhappy because the right person hasn't appeared yet. They can't find a job or make ends meet because the country is poorly managed. Their life's control always lies in someone else's hands or in external conditions. On the other hand, someone with an internal locus of control believes the outcomes in their life largely result from their own actions, decisions, and efforts. They take ownership of both successes and failures. They see happiness not as a gift someone else gives them, but as a structure they must build within themselves. They know they're at the wheel of their life. When anxious attachment and an external locus of control combine, they create a toxic brew that fuels that chronic sense of lack. A mind that learned in childhood that love's control lies outside itself continues to believe in adulthood that happiness's control lies outside too. It's a vicious cycle. The person searches for someone to complete them, hands over control when they find them, and falls into an even deeper void when that person leaves or fails to meet expectations. This proves the system was flawed from the start. But the human brain's most magnificent feature is its ability to be reprogrammed. These psychological templates aren't a lifelong sentence. Becoming aware of these codes is the first and most crucial step to breaking them. When you feel that sense of lack, realizing it's not a romantic void but a search for safety and control changes the entire equation. This is the start of stopping the begging for external approval and building your own approval mechanism within. What you're seeking isn't a soulmate or someone to complete you. It's about taking control of your life from the external world and bringing it back to your inner center. Wholeness begins when you have the courage to consciously rewrite the old software written in childhood and adulthood. Because you're not just a passenger in your life, you're also its programmer. The art of finding your own source. Imagine dividing people into two groups based on their existential water sources. The first group consists of bucket people. They're like sturdy, shiny buckets, beautiful on the outside but empty inside. They can't produce their vital energy, happiness, or self-worth within themselves. To feel full and whole, they constantly need an external source. That source might be a lover's compliments, a friend group's approval, or social media likes. For them, happiness is borrowed water poured into their bucket from someone else's tap. A bucket person's life is an endless cycle of anxiety and searching. They're constantly looking for new sources to fill their buckets. When one source dries up or shuts off, they panic because their bucket empties quickly, and that familiar sense of lack engulfs them. In relationships, they hold out their buckets to their partners saying, "Make me happy, complete me, fill my void." This places an immense doomed-to-fail burden on the other person, because no one can take on the responsibility of filling someone else's bucket forever. The other group consists of well people. From the outside, they may seem simpler, less flashy, because their wealth lies not on the surface, but in their depths. A well person draws their vital water, not from external taps, but from their own underground springs. This source is the product of years of inner digging, self-discovery, building values, and wisdom gained through facing challenges. Their happiness and self-worth don't depend on what others say or do because the source is themselves. A well's water isn't easily affected by external conditions. There may be a drought outside, all taps may run dry, and everyone else may be parched. But the well retains its cool depth. Well, people don't fall into a void when alone because their inner world is rich. They don't crumble under criticism because their worth isn't tied to external approval. They don't vanish when abandoned because their existence isn't indexed to someone else's presence. They live with the unshakable peace of having a reliable inner source, even in the toughest times. The greatest paradox in relationships emerges here. A bucket person, always seeking to be filled, has little to give. All they can offer is borrowed water, which can be taken back at any moment. Their relationships often turn into a transactional dance of neediness. But a well person's inner source is so abundant that their water naturally overflows. When they love or give, they don't diminish. They share the abundance of their source. Their love isn't a demand, but a gift. A well can water an entire garden without losing anything from its depth. So, how does a bucket become a well? It starts with deciding to stop waiting under someone else's tap and start digging in your own terrain. This is a painful process. Sometimes you hit hard rocks, painful truths or fears. Sometimes you pass through muddy layers, past traumas. This is personal labor that no one can do for you, requiring patience and courage. Every swing of the pickaxe is a question you ask yourself, a fear you face or a lesson you learn. In the end, the choice is clear. Do you want to live as a bucket, always needing someone else for every drop, fearing cracks and emptiness? Or do you choose to become a well, digging as deep as necessary to find your own cool, inexhaustible water that sustains both you and those around you, even in the driest seasons? One is dependence. The other is freedom itself, an experiment to become the master of your life. This section will lay everything bare. Please focus. Let's pause for a moment in this quest for wholeness and set aside theories, analyses, and metaphors to conduct a thought experiment, just you and me. If I asked you to divide everything in your life, absolutely everything, into two simple categories, what would they be? Good and bad things? Things you want and don't want? Successes and failures? The ancient Stoic sages say there's only one correct answer that illuminates the path to mental peace and wholeness. The answer is this. Everything in life is divided into two categories. First, things entirely within our control. Second, things entirely outside our control. That's the whole matter. Simple yet profoundly deep. Now, think honestly. If you made a list of things you can't control, what would you write? You'd probably start with the weather, traffic, or the economy's direction. Let's go deeper. Where do other people's opinions of you fall on this list? No matter how hard you try, can you fully control what someone else thinks of you? Of course not. What about your health? You can take care of your body, exercise, and eat well. Those are your actions. But can you completely prevent a genetic illness or an unexpected accident? No. Your partner's love for you, you can be your best self, but you can't 100% control their feelings. Your children's future success, you can provide the best opportunities, but you can't guarantee the outcome. The list goes on. Your fame, wealth, the events that happen to you, all are at some point outside your sphere of influence. Now let's look at the other list. What's entirely 100% unquestionably within your control? This list is surprisingly short. According to the Stoics, it contains only 3 things. First, your judgments and beliefs about events. Second, your intentions and decisions to act or not act. Third, your actions and reactions born from those judgments and intentions. That's it. Your entire power, your entire kingdom, lies within this. No matter what happens outside, how you interpret an event, what meaning you assign to it, and what you choose to do in response are always yours. All the lack, anxiety, anger, and disappointment you feel stem from confusing these 2 lists. You exhaust your energy trying to control what you can't, while neglecting the one thing you can control, your mind and reactions. Getting angry at the sky when it rains is as pointless as struggling for someone else's approval, trying to change the past, or attempting to secure the future. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. It only leaves you tired and empty-handed. True wholeness and freedom begin the moment you understand and consciously apply this distinction every day. Imagine a life where you shift your energy from uncontrollable external events to your fully controllable inner responses. When someone insults you, your focus isn't their words but the wise response you choose to give. When you fail at a project, your focus isn't the disappointment of the outcome, but what you learn from the experience. When a loved one leaves you, your focus isn't the impossible ways to bring them back, but how you'll grow through the pain and move forward. So, let's end this thought experiment with a simple question. Where are you investing your energy and attention? Are you exhausting yourself, rowing against the wind's direction, which you can't change? Or are you focusing on wisely steering your ship's rudder no matter which way the wind blows? You can never control the storm in the ocean, but the hands holding the rudder in the midst of that storm are always yours. Your peace begins when you accept this truth. The world owes you nothing. One of the greatest lies the modern world tells us is that each of us is at the center of the universe. We're constantly fed empty affirmations like, follow your dreams, you deserve the best. If you want it enough, the universe will give it to you. This mindset convinces us we're delicate snowflakes, unique and special. So, when something bad happens, we rebel. Why did this happen to me? I didn't deserve this. It feels as if the universe has a personal vendetta against us, as if fate is unfairly targeting us. Here's the harsh, painful truth. The universe doesn't care about you. Nature doesn't give a damn about your happiness or misery. It moves forward in its vast, indifferent cycle. Planets orbit, seasons change, storms rage, and the sun rises and sets. In this cosmic dance, our personal dramas are less significant than a single drop in the ocean. The Stoic philosophers understood this thousands of years ago. As Marcus Aurelius said, keep thinking of the universe as a single living being with one substance and one soul. Evil is always the same old thing. No matter what happens, keep this in mind. It's the same old thing from one end of the world to the other. This truth may seem cruel and disheartening at first. So, am I insignificant? You might ask. No, quite the opposite. This is the key to the greatest freedom. The solution is to see the universe's indifference not as a personal insult, but as an unshakable space of freedom. If nature has no special plan for your happiness, it also has no special plan for your misery. The bad things that happen, a sickness, a loss, a disappointment, aren't punishments sent specifically for you. They just happen. Just as a fig tree bears figs or a doctor isn't surprised when patients get fevers, you shouldn't be shocked when the world behaves like the world. This is the foundation of the Stoic art of amor fati, the art of loving fate. When you learn to want things to happen as they do, not as you wish them to, you stop fighting the universe and start flowing with it. Your exercise for this lesson is to embrace this brutal honesty. The next time you face a setback, instead of asking, why me? Ask, why not me? Remind yourself, all of humanity, past and future, is destined for death. We're all part of this. Illness, loss, and pain are part of the human package. They're not anomalies, they're part of the system. Being whole within yourself means accepting that the universe doesn't owe you anything special. When you stop expecting happiness or wholeness from external sources, luck, or fate, you find the power to create it within yourself, because you realize life doesn't owe you anything. On the contrary, you owe life for this brief, miraculous existence, and the only way to pay that debt is to live each moment wisely, courageously, and honorably. As Seneca said, we shouldn't complain about life's shortness, but about how much of it we waste. The moment you realize you're not special is the moment you become truly free, because then you no longer need to prove anything to anyone or anything. You just need to be yourself, walk your path, and give this short but precious journey the respect it deserves. Nothing outside. You is truly yours. For a moment, imagine yourself in a vast library you've been visiting your whole life. Each section of this library is filled with things that come and go in your life. The bicycle from your childhood, the jacket you bought with your first paycheck, the diploma you proudly display, your favorite friends, your family, even the healthy body that lets you breathe right now. You touch each one, build memories with them, and label them as mine. My car, my career, my partner, my life. Here's where the problem begins. We think these things are our possessions. We believe we own them permanently and have a right to them. This is a profound delusion, because nothing in this library truly belongs to us. It's all just lent to us. We're visitors allowed to study, spend time with, and enjoy these unique works for a while. The true owner of the library, God, never tells us when these books, these possessions, will be recalled. This illusion of ownership is one of the deepest roots of our pain. Why do we rebel so much when a borrowed body falls ill, temporary wealth vanishes, or a mortal loved one leaves? Because we never considered the possibility of losing them. We loved them as if they'd stay with us forever. The Stoic philosopher Seneca sums it up. We deceive ourselves by thinking the things we have are our own. They're only lent to us. The one who granted us these gifts decides how long we'll be their tenants. Our task is to keep these gifts ready and return them without complaint when called. So what's the solution to this inevitable fear of loss and disappointment? The solution is to learn to see everything in this library as a tenant would. Deeply appreciate them. Spend the best time with them, but never cling to them. This is the Stoic practice of seeing everything as borrowed. It's quietly reminding yourself that this might be your last goodbye when parting with a loved one. It's enjoying everything you have as a gift, not as something you're entitled to. Epictetus's stark but enlightening advice is exactly this. When you kiss your child or spouse, remind yourself you're kissing a mortal being. This isn't to lessen your love, but to make it more conscious and valuable, to cherish the moment. The practice for this lesson is to shift your perspective. Instead of saying, "If I lose this, I'll be ruined," learn to say, "I'm grateful for the time I've had with this." When an object breaks, instead of lamenting, "Oh no, my favorite mug broke," think, "The mug I borrowed has been returned." This mindset makes you more resilient to life's storms. When the storm comes and a few books fall from the shelves, instead of clinging to them, you'll remember the good times you had with them. Remember, being whole within yourself means not tying your happiness to things lent to you that can be taken back at any moment. Your true wealth isn't the books you collect in this library, but the wisdom and character you develop while reading them. Even if the library burns down, that wisdom stays with you, because that alone is truly yours. Everything else is just on loan. Finding peace by imagining the worst. The modern world whispers, almost like a religious doctrine, that you must always think positively. To attract good things into your life, you're told to imagine only good things and banish all negative thoughts from your mind. But what if I told you that the secret to unshakable wholeness and a fearless mind lies in the opposite practice, deliberately and controlledly imagining the negative? This is one of the Stoics' most powerful mental tools, acting like a psychological vaccine. It's called premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. Its purpose isn't to drown in pessimism, but to arm yourself with a mental shield against life's inevitable challenges. It's like conducting a fire drill. No one wants a fire to break out, but the person who knows what to do and which exit to use when the sirens sound is far safer than someone frozen in panic. This practice is a disaster drill for your mind. Let's go through this drill step by step. The first step is to identify your attachments. Pause for a moment and think honestly. What are you most afraid of losing? It could be your current job, your home, a specific relationship, your health, or your reputation in society. These are the external pillars you've built your happiness and sense of wholeness upon. Now pick just one, the most important to you right now. The second step is detailed visualization. Close your eyes and imagine losing that thing. Don't brush it off as a fleeting thought. Go into the details. If you chose your job, picture receiving that bad news. The moment you read the message, imagine your boss's expression, the awkward silence as you clear your desk, the fleeting glances of your coworkers. If you chose a relationship, picture the breakup conversation, the room it takes place in, the words spoken, the sound of the door closing behind them. Observe this scenario not as an emotional drama, but with the cool-headedness of a strategist, with all its sensory details. The third and most crucial step is to ask the critical question, then what? The worst-case scenario has happened. You've been fired, abandoned, or lost your health. Yes, it's painful. You'll grieve, maybe mourn for a while. That's deeply human. But then what will you do? What's the first concrete step you'd take to keep going? Which friend would you call for support? What skills and inner resources would you draw upon? What could you do to cut expenses? These questions shift your mind from the helplessness of victimhood to the active, creative mode of a problem solver. You start to realize that the feared scenario doesn't destroy you. It just opens a new chapter in your life. This simple but powerful exercise has two major benefits. First, it vaccinates you against your fears. Having already lived the worst-case scenario in your mind and developed a plan to navigate it, that fear loses its power over you. When fate delivers an unexpected blow, you're not caught off guard, but are mentally more flexible and resilient. Second, it creates an immense sense of gratitude for the present moment. When you finish the exercise, open your eyes and realize you still have that job or that loved one is still by your side. You no longer take them for granted. You see how valuable and temporary these gifts are. Make this exercise a mental habit by dedicating just a few minutes each morning. The goal isn't to live in constant worry, but to be prepared for potential challenges. People dependent on the external world live in glass towers, fearing the slightest tremor will bring it down. A person whole within themselves has rehearsed the worst storms in their mind, planned the escape routes, and discovered the inner strength to stand tall in any scenario. True happiness isn't the state of everything going right. It's knowing you'll be okay even when everything goes wrong. Your inner fortress and the guardians of your mind. Imagine your mind as a sturdy fortress built on a steep hill, surrounded by impregnable walls. This fortress is your most intimate sanctuary. No matter how chaotic, uncertain, or stormy the outside world becomes, it's the one place where you can find peace. Within it, your reason, values, and deepest self are safe. You are the commander of this fortress. But here's the problem. Most of us leave the fortress's gates wide open. We send the guards to sleep and let anyone walk in. Someone's approval, a stranger's insult, unexpected news, or a regret from the past. These all barge in like uninvited guests, causing chaos, stealing your peace and holding you hostage. You become a prisoner in your own sanctuary. When you hand your happiness to an external event or person's whim, you're essentially giving the key to your fortress to someone else. From that moment, you're no longer safe even in your own home. As Seneca said, the greatest empire is to rule over yourself. So how do we achieve this sovereignty? The solution is to station loyal guards at your fortress's gates. These guards are your judgments, the filter between events and your reactions to them. Stoicism teaches that an external event or stimulus isn't inherently good or bad. Rain falling is neither good nor bad. It's just a natural event. A friend forgetting to call you is neither good nor bad. It's just an action. These are neutral messengers knocking at your fortress's gate. Whether to let them in or label them as good or bad is entirely up to you, the fortress's commander. Epictetus puts it most clearly. It's not what happens to us that disturbs us, but our opinions about them. The real harm comes not from an event forcing its way into your fortress, but from your judgment, opening the gate to it. If you feel hurt when someone insults you, it's not their words that wound you, but your interpretation of those words as degrading or bad. Your task in this lesson is to train your fortress's guards. When an event, criticism, failure, or disappointment knocks at your gate, don't let it in immediately. Follow Epictetus's advice and say, "Let me see who you are and what you represent first. Let me put you to the test." This moment of pause, this small gap, is your space of freedom. In that moment, ask yourself, is it the event itself upsetting me, or my thoughts about it? Is this within my control or not? How can I respond to this virtuously, with wisdom, courage, justice, or moderation? These questions are your loyal guards. They keep toxic thoughts and destructive emotions from infiltrating your fortress. They prevent an external breeze from turning your inner peace into a storm. Remember, being whole within yourself is about being the master of your inner fortress. No matter the external conditions, no one and nothing can breach those walls without your permission, because your mind belongs only to you. As Marcus Aurelius said, people have no access to your soul. Your true power lies not in controlling events, but in controlling the meaning you give them. Train your guards, protect your gates, and enjoy the unshakable peace of your inner kingdom. The real cause of disappointment. Picture your life as a theater stage. You're both the actor and the director, but without realizing it, You've picked up a script. You have rigid rules about how every scene and every line should unfold. You expect your friend to call you at the exact time you want, your partner to get you the exact gift you imagined for your birthday, your project to turn out exactly as planned. You demand that life follows your script to the letter. Here's where the problem begins. When we judge reality by our expectations, we condemn ourselves to a prison of disappointment. Being shocked or angry when a cucumber tastes bitter, thorns appear on your path, or a fig tree bears figs is as absurd as a carpenter being surprised to find sawdust in their workshop. Our overly optimistic expectations and desires are the root of our anger and frustration. This stems from an excessive love for ourselves, as if we're kings and the world must bend to our wishes. So, how do we escape this self-made prison? The solution is to tear up that rigid script and see life's play as an art of improvisation. Learn to want things to happen as they do, not as you wish them to. Stoic philosophy teaches that it's not the events themselves, but our false expectations about them that cause distress. Emotions like sadness, disappointment, and anger arise from the desire to control what's beyond our control. A friend not calling you is a neutral event. What upsets you is your expectation that they should have called. Blame your expectations, not the event. Your exercise for this lesson is to align your mind with reality. The next time you make a plan or take action, remind yourself that the outcome is not in your control. Adopt the Stoic reserve clause mindset. If fate allows, I'll cross the ocean. This allows you to do your very best while calmly accepting that the outcome is beyond your control. This isn't hoping things will go wrong, but being prepared if they do. A wise person never lets the course of events surprise them. Remember, being whole within yourself means not building your happiness on expectation walls that can collapse at any moment. When you have the courage to accept life as it is, you gain a freedom that needs no script. Because you realize happiness doesn't come from events matching your expectations, but from your ability to adapt wisely to them. Throughout this journey, we've seen that everything external, no matter how grand or shiny, is temporary and can be taken away one day. Wealth, titles, others' applause, even love. We've learned that true power lies not in controlling events, but in managing the reactions and meanings we assign to them. We've discovered that the deepest peace isn't found in losing yourself in crowds, but in being at peace with yourself in your own silence. All these paths lead to the same unshakable truth. Being whole within yourself isn't a goal about gaining something external. It's a process of discovering the power already within you. So, how is this discovery made? How do you reach this inner strength? The answer doesn't lie in accumulating more knowledge, gaining more titles, or learning complex techniques. Quite the opposite. The answer lies in the courage to shed the excess in your life. Perhaps the most beautiful lesson summarizing this philosophy and quest lies in the simple but profound secret of a wise sculptor. Let this be the final thought in your mind as this video ends. All our lives, we've been taught the wrong art, the art of addition. To feel valuable, we added titles, approvals, and glimmers from the outside. But the sculptor's true secret is the art of subtraction. True wholeness is about chiseling away the fears, expectations, and neediness that keep you from being yourself. Because your value isn't in what's added to you, it's in the simple, powerful essence that remains when all the excess is gone. The moment you become self-sufficient is the moment your masterpiece emerges. As Epictetus said, true wealth isn't having many things, but needing very few. Thank you for watching.